Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw, and I'm here with Keith Walden, who is the founder and director of Departure Lounge. Now, what's Departure Lounge? Well, it's a very new model kind of uh, uh, retail shop, but also a host agency. And Keith founded it a number of years ago, and we're going to talk to him all about that, what it's doing during the global pandemic. That's the big question of the day. And there's actually some positive news there. And so we're going to talk to Keith about that and more on Insider Travel Report. Now, first of all, Keith, how are you and where are you? I love your stone fireplace there. That's very homey.
I am at home. I have a home between Austin and San Antonio, between our two storefronts out in the hill country in a little town called Blanco. And I live on a hilltop in the hill country about 1,500 feet up in the air. So that's where I've been mostly hanging out during the pandemic.
Yeah, well, not a bad place to hang out. That's very great. Now tell us, remind us a little bit about Departure Lounge, what it is, how it works, and how it might be just a bit different from your traditional agencies and host agencies.
Sure. This will be my 34th year in travel. I started when I was 20 years old, so you can do the math and know that I'm 54 now. And I spent 16 years of that working at Virtuoso and public relations, marketing, and partnership, business development type of roles. Used to deal with you before.
Yeah, I know that was horrible. That was horrible, right?
I know. Well, no, you got an upgrade, Misty Bellis, to come in. So you did just fine with that transition that I went through there. But my job was during that time was to really elevate and promote luxury travel agencies, particularly those that were part of the Virtuoso network, which were like my family members. And after doing that for 16 years, I realized that for a big part of society, our industry was invisible. And I knew that because my job was to talk to people every day that were outside the industry. And I was telling them the story of Virtuoso and about our industry. And every day I was dealt with the reality that many people didn't know our industry even existed anymore.
Right.
And so I started to ask the question, why? And, the big reason why was the lack of visibility at the storefront level, on the street in cities around the world, and particularly in the United States. You just weren't seeing luxury agencies anymore. They had moved to office towers or out of the way business parks to get the overhead down. To keep profitability in place and survive, all the changes of the internet coming on and online booking engines and so forth. And so my brain started working on how could we get back on the street in an engaging way that also had a business model that paid the bills and could afford the space. And that's really what led to the original Departure Lounge, which we launched 7 years ago, which was a coffee and wine bar, very upscale, that also was a Virtuoso member travel agency, smushed together on a busy street corner of Austin, Texas. And that was our laboratory to learn about how to re-engage with, affluent consumers of a wide age group. And it was a great experience. We learned a lot. It was very complicated because we were running a food and beverage establishment, an events venue, and a luxury travel agency, which were really three very different businesses and smushed all together. So if I hadn't already been bald at that point, I would be soon thereafter.
You also had to serve good coffee too, right?
Good coffee. We had wines from 85 different parts of the world. And I mean, it was just, it was a lot. But it worked, and we attracted passionate travelers. I attracted new talent to come be travel advisors, most of which had not sold travel before, turned them into very successful travel advisors relatively quickly. And then about 4 years in, and towards the end of our lease on our downtown space, we saw that the one shopping center that was between the two wealthiest neighborhoods in Austin had some space opening up. And it was a location of an upscale furniture store that had been there for decades. And I saw the going out of business sale in the window and ran in and said, "Is this a real going out of business sale, or is this just a promotion?" He's like, no, my wife and I, we've been doing this for so long, we want to retire, we want to travel. And I'm like, God has sent me here today. I'm going to help you travel. I want you to help me get this space. He did, and that's been our new home in Austin for the past 3 years, a little over 3 years now. It was 3 years in August that we opened. And with that move, we shifted the business model to not be a public bar, but we focused on travel only, but still with the very upscale lounge and design and storefront. It does not look like an office at all. It looks like an upscale lounge, and it is. We just give away the beverage side. So when a client comes in to meet with an advisor, we give them a glass of bubbles or wine or a fancy coffee drink, cappuccino, whatever they'd like. It helps them relax, sit down, and really engage with an advisor that we've chosen and picked out for them based on what they've told us about where they want to go next or the type of traveler they are. And that modification was just golden. Our first year in that location, our lead generation business off the street quadrupled, 4 times what it had been the previous year. And then soon thereafter, we decided we would open in the Dominion, which is the wealthiest zip code in San Antonio on the northwest side of San Antonio, which was very underserved by any travel advisors, much less a brick and mortar agency. Right. So we've been opened in San Antonio now for about a year and a half in the Dominion area with a very similar design. We spent a lot of time picking out a very particular interior design for the retail concept. So both our Austin and our San Antonio locations are almost identical with the same furnishings, lighting, color scheme, everything. It's very branded. And along the way, and soon after we actually launched 7 years ago, people started to hear about the way that we did business and wanted to be a part of it. So we organically became a national host agency.
Right, because I do know, I knew you actually host a fair number of agents, right?
We're now up to 107 advisors between the United States and Mexico. And this month we are launching Departure Lounge Europe. One of the things that I've done during my lockdown here at my place in Blanco, Texas is figure out how to go into the host agency operation in Europe. And so started tackling what needs to be done with legalities, what financial setups, what partnerships, what support team, what platforms, and basically made the list and started knocking through it. And we're actually launching this month with Departure Lounge Europe and starting to interview candidates over there. And the timing is actually very good because of the pandemic, there's a lot of people rethinking their careers, or they've been displaced out of maybe on the supplier side, but they've got tremendous travel knowledge and great connections and skill sets. And so I feel like we'll be able to help some folks, recast their career in a different direction and a successful one.
Well, definitely a lot of people in travel have been furloughed or thrown out of work in the last year or so. And so a lot of them may be coming back and want to try the travel advisory role. So we'll see what happens there. So you just answered my question a little bit about what you've been doing to get through this travel downturn during the crisis. It sounds like you've been trying to innovate. And then meanwhile, you had that storefront that you literally must have opened, and then really it's been shut. I don't think has it been shut down, or both physical locations?
We shut down both locations for about 2 months during the most serious beginning of the pandemic. And then we opened and changed a lot of things. We would not allow, agent trainings to take place. We had no group activities at all. We still don't. We limit to one sales coordinator manning the facility. We do have client meetings with advisors, but we'll only have one meeting at a time. And the facility is designed to have up to 5 at a time. So we only allow 1 per hour. And so that we're really, and then of course we require masks to be worn inside. And so we've just kind of changed gears a bit. And really just the fact that we are open and the lights are on because we're in fairly busy shopping centers, it's kept the clientele and the new business coming to us, not oftentimes through the door, but they're calling or emailing because they can see that we're open and we're working.
No, that's a great advertisement. Yeah.
It's
Now,
part of the reason that our sales have not dipped as much as some of my colleagues at other agencies, because I think of our storefronts in busy shopping centers. Austin in particular, we're right next to one of the busiest grocery stores between those two wealthiest neighborhoods. So people see us, multiple times a week.
now, how have you helped with your hosted advisors? How have you helped them get through all this?
I am lucky to have a really talented and helpful team. They are fantastic with each other. And soon as we could, very beginning of the pandemic, we could kind of see what we thought was going to happen. And since I had a good geographic spread all over the United States, the advisors on the team learned about their particular area where they lived, the region where they were, went and found out about every private home and every little resort and property that maybe we weren't selling very much of last year, and then reported back on it to the team. And it really helped us up our game on domestic options where it didn't involve getting in an elevator or going down a hallway. So, resort properties that had standalone residential type units or casitas, or private homes through many different providers, and really studying those. And so we've had a really large amount of private home bookings this year. We had a retreat at the end of September in San Antonio. We actually had an in-person retreat, which was tricky to pull off with a lot of precautions. But one of the things we do at our annual retreat is look at a ranking of our top brands that we've sold per category. And this year, in the accommodation category was normally only hotel brands. What was number 2 in gross sales for us was luxury retreats, or what is now Airbnb Luxe. That's remarkable considering out of the top 20, and it tells you what kind of year we had with private homes. And we had really strong business with other brands in that private home category as well. Besides that, we became experts on private aviation. We've got a lot of very, very, very wealthy clients, and some of those have their own planes, but in the year of pandemic, there was a strong interest in private aviation. And so we banded together. One of our top producers has a strong aviation background and also happens to have those types of clients in force. And so he was very helpful on teaching the team about private aviation. So those are two of the key things that we did. And we started to have a weekly happy hour on Zoom for our team and stayed in touch and shared, what was going on and what the things that we were seeing and what clients were asking for. And I think that shared experience was also very helpful to giving people some productive, practical things instead of just like burying your head in the sand, which pandemics can make you want to do. I know, it really, you just go home and cry after a while. But and in fact, we go back on the sales side. I think you've told me that you were early this year. You're only down about 37%, which is actually amazing considering what's going on for this year. And then I assume you're seeing significant bookings, hopefully for 21. Yeah, January through October, we are only down 37% from 19, which was our, every year we've had has been incredible growth from the previous year because we've just continued to grow so much. And 19 was an incredible year for us and many, many companies. So, it's been really encouraging that we've only lost 37% of our business. And October was our best month since February, and it was only down about 30% from February. So October was very encouraging. One of our advisors, our top producer, had a record-selling month in October for our whole 7-year history because he sold over $1 million. You told me about a guy named Michael Arnold, who sounds like a real go-getter for you, and he's I assume he's a hosted advisor. But how did he emerge like this, and what was his secret to his success, and how did you help him? Well, so all of my travel advisors are hosts. They're all independent contractors. I don't have any inside agents. Even though we have the storefronts, we give the leads to our independent contractors. Got it. about a little over 2 years ago, Mike called me. I was about to leave Aspen from a board meeting, and he called me, I think on end of a week, and was very interested in joining Departure Lounge and wanted to make some bookings right away that were huge bookings. And I asked him to, send me some confirmations from things that his organization had booked in recent months, and they were incredible. So he signed with us over the weekend, and on Monday and Tuesday did over $250,000 in bookings. And he's just been that. He's extremely bright, really high energy guy, and well connected with extremely affluent households that trust him as they should. And so he, in his first year, although he had a day job at that time in oil and gas, on the side, he sold enough to be our top producer in his first year. And this year, he's heading towards more than $5 million in sales, I'd say, for the year.
Is he giving up his day job? Is he giving up his day job now?
He did. After the first year, he did give up the day job and fully focused on travel. And, it's taken an approach that if any other brand new advisor had come to me with this type of strategy, I would have cautioned. But with his abilities and his connections and his knowledge and experience, he's had tremendous travel experience himself. He just set the bar really high with the type of households that he was going to work with. And he had those within, reach. And he stayed in his lane and has become a really great specialist for ultra-luxe travelers, those that are multi-millionaire or close to billionaire, or, major sports stars or Hollywood types or British royalty. And he understands their lifestyles, and he knows what they need and what they're going to be interested in. He's masterful with his support team and reaching out and working with the supplier to make sure that everything is anticipated and flawless. So, he's built a very impressive business, and also has been a great benefit to the rest of the Departure Lounge team with his knowledge and connections as well.
Now, what is he selling that's so lucrative? I assume he does private jet and all the kind of things like that. But what is he selling? Destination resorts? Is he selling cruises? What does he focus on?
He's not selling cruises, and he's not selling group tours. It's all FIT and at an ultra luxury level. Lots and lots of private aviation, lots of very high-end commercial air during normal times. This year, almost exclusively private aviation. Tons of very high-end private homes and villas, sure. And then takeovers of smaller, super elite resorts, focusing on the very best product in a market. Wherever his client is going, they're staying at the very best, and then they're staying at the very best within the very best. So it's the best accommodations at the best place, typically during the highest time, peak time of the year. This year it's been a scramble just because it's mainly been the U.S. and Mexico and some Caribbean and a few other places that he's been able to send clients. But he's done a great job. The clients have been really happy. You can tell by their responses. So he's been a really great asset.
Well, I'd love to be in the clubs that he frequents, because it sounds like he's got a great network, wherever he started in his business, that he has a great way to network with a lot of great people and a lot of wealthy clientele. So that's wonderful, and it's great that he's part of your team.
Well, he's really super nice guy, and I think that in the circles that he is in, there aren't a lot of travel advisor types that are playing in those circles. So I think people are really interested once they hear what he's doing, and he's so engaging that it's not hard for him to. And then his referral business from his clients has been fantastic. So I'd say he's got a bright future for sure.
Sounds wonderful. We should do an interview with him one of these days. We'll see. I'd say I gotta figure out how he does this during a pandemic. It's great. Now let's go back to just yourself. You were talking about you have 107 hosted advisors now, which is actually up. You said 25% this year, which means you are indeed include with this new foray into Europe. You're getting people who are coming to you interested in selling travel, right?
Oh, for sure. And the majority of our team had never sold travel before they joined us. This year, we've had a mixture in our growth of both brand new and some established advisors that have used the pandemic to reevaluate their business and who they're associated with and at their host agency. And so there's been, a little bit of movement out there, and we've picked up a few that really fit our culture. We look for really well traveled at a luxury level. We look for a certain type of skill sets. They're non-GDS. They have to be comfortable with all modern technology. They have to be focused on luxury leisure. We look at their connections to affluent households, and then we look at kindness, like are they super nice people, and are they going to reflect our culture? Because Departure Lounge for me is about partnerships and relationships and being nice and being kind, and if that is comfortable for them, then they can be a good fit. So as we grow, my job is to keep that culture and not screw it up in any way. So it's my number one mission.
Well, that's great, and it sounds like you've done a good job at getting you got a few more Michael Arnolds, and you can go retire, I think, after a while. But we'll see what happens. But you and I aren't going to retire from this business anyway, as we know. So
yeah, I was going to say, James, we don't retire in this business. We just fall over dead someday, hopefully on a beautiful beach or in a beautiful city somewhere while we're on a trip. It'll be fine.
There you go. There you go. Now you've talked for a long time about expanding the whole Departure Lounge concept, and indeed you have expanded it. You have the 2 physical locations now. Any idea that you would expand those physical locations both in the U.S. and maybe now with Europe?
Yes. Actually, I had planned to look at other markets in Texas back in the spring. I already had some site visits on the calendar when COVID hit. So those have not happened, but we are interested in further expanding with the retail concept, further refining it. I think the Zoom phenomenon has helped us understand that we can do national client events that don't have to be in person at our facilities, which may allow us to review a different footprint that's a little bit less expensive from a square footage standpoint, because those in Austin and San Antonio are designed partly as big as they are because we have some nice sized client events there. So it's kind of opened our eyes that we might take a little bit different approach, and maybe smaller markets or wealthy suburbs type of area, and still have a retail presence, which has worked really well for us. And then we are definitely interested in trying the retail concept in Europe as well. We want to first build a nice team of advisors over there, and then put our toe in the water for retail when retailing is fully back, and people aren't scared to be out shopping again. We'd like to give that a shot. What we do is not anything difficult. It's sensical. You're providing a really nice place that's designed well, that's very comfortable for an advisor to meet with a new client that they don't know, and then have a very successful first interaction with them. And so it just gives the advisor more confidence. It gives the client more confidence in that their trip's going to be great, and they're not, distracted by what's going on at the Starbucks or wherever else they might be meeting. So our closure rate on first meetings inside of the retail space is over 85%. And then our retention rate of that client is also very high because the personal bond that happens. So, and then our lead business is very lucrative because we keep a nice chunk of the commission on leads, and that's what allows us to actually pay for the space and have the staff there and keep the lights on. So it's something that we are committed to continuing it, assuming that retailing comes back to pre-COVID levels, which I believe it will.
In certain areas it will, I'm sure. In fact, I'll be happy to go scout out a Westchester County location here just north of New York. I think we need a good physical location like that, and maybe up in Scarsdale or Bedford someplace where people are going to be booking that kind of travel. But I definitely think it's actually, when you first announced the concept 7 years ago, it's like you're going back to the future, doing a retail location, albeit in a very different way. It was a great
Yeah.
concept. You got a lot of coverage. We wrote about you. We interviewed you, and now you've been trying to expand this concept. And we have a little blip in the road here with COVID, but it sounds like it wasn't too much of a blip for you. So that's actually.
It's the first year that we won't have substantial growth year over year. So it is a blip in that way because we've always had tremendous growth year over year. So we will not have that this year, but we are thankful for what we have and for our clients that are still wanting to travel. And, it's a personal decision. Because I have a very wide and diverse group of advisors from 20-somethings to 70-somethings, our clientele is also equally diverse.
Right.
Although they tend to all be fairly wealthy, their age and their lifestyles are quite different. And so many of them have still prioritized traveling during the pandemic, particularly in the last 3 months to 4 months. They just got tired of being stuck in one of their homes, and they decided they wanted to go. And we did our very best to relay all the information on the COVID protocols, what was available to them, what were the different options, what were the health and safety protocols at the different places they were looking at. So we've had to, as every other travel advisor, we've had to learn a lot about it, a lot of new things to relate to the clients. But I think it's really cemented our relationships with these clients and made them value us more and refer us to their friends more. So I think there's a lot of positives that can come out of this. We also use the downtime to look at all of our structures and platforms. We have a new booking platform that we use for air and for hotels and for mileage redemption and for private aviation. And it really consolidates a lot of our different preferred programs, making it easier for our advisors to navigate with what they're doing and still tap into all the many different preferred programs that we have. And then we recently have launched our own preferred program called Departure Lounge VIP, standing for Very Important Partner. And that is a by invitation only program where we go market by market, destination by destination, and the whole team votes on who are our top handful of properties that we love to sell, that we believe in the most, and then we basically form our own special partnership and agreement with those properties. And the response to that has been really, really encouraging as well. So my job.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're ready to you have your own Departure Lounge Gold list there.
Kind of. It's just like there's so many great products out there. Like Cabo is a great example where, you've got 12, 15 really great properties or more. And, to sit down and really analyze what's the best of the best, who do we love the most, who do we enjoy working with the most, and then make a stronger partnership with them with marketing and, a marketing campaign that goes with it. We just felt like that was the smarter thing to do. It also helped us for those independent hotels that are not part of a large brand that has its own preferred program. Mm-hmm. It allows us to work with an independent in a preferred way. And ultimately gives my team a selling advantage in the marketplace and gives our clients the top level of upgrades and perks. So it's a win-win for everybody in that process. So we've been really encouraged by that. So there's been several things that we probably wouldn't have had the time to do if we hadn't been stuck at home. So I think we are kind of coming out. We will come out of this smarter organization and stronger, and with a lot of new people on the team. So excited about all of those things.
No, that sounds great. And one of my questions was, do you think you're well positioned as we emerge from this crisis for growth in the future? It sounds like you are.
Yeah, I think so. The team has used the downtime. We have become so much more knowledgeable in so many things through Zoom. We have educated, and then we spent a good bit of time meeting just with our group to talk about strategy. We did have our annual retreat the last week in September down at La Cantera in San Antonio over that weekend, and stayed very socially distanced and wore a mask, but had a face-to-face meeting for 47 of our advisors and about 12 of our partners that were sponsors for the weekend. And that was extremely helpful, not only just for our psyche, but we covered a lot of key strategies to look at so that we can make the most coming out of the pandemic as it starts to ease up and we can get the vaccine in place and all the factors and get past the election and all these things that are quite a swirl.
Yeah, we're not past the election yet, apparently. So let's see.
Looks like we're not. Yeah.
A little nutty. That's crazy this year. Now, anything else you want to tell us about Departure Lounge, your model, or any predictions that you have or what's going to happen next year?
I'm just curious. Tonight we have a client event with Silver Sea, a Zoom client event nationwide, and I'm really eager to talk to Mark Conroy and his team tonight and find out from their perspectives, what's the next steps with the cruise business, because we do a good bit of cruise with some of our cruise specialists on the team. And I'm just interested in seeing how everybody emerges from this. Virtuoso has really taken the time, I think, as well to look at how to emerge as a network, stronger and smarter and more modern, and really assisting a really diverse set of member agencies globally. So I'm really excited to see what comes with what Virtuoso's got up its sleeve. I've heard rumors that sound exciting. So I think there's a lot of really cool stuff happening. On the more concerning side is companies that are struggling and, people that have lost their jobs. And my hope is that, they all find new homes and or get back on their feet, because that's been the hardest thing to see through this is colleagues that you and I have had for decades suddenly, struggling to figure out what they're going to do next. And that's been the toughest thing to watch. So I'm hopeful that, the economy continues to tick up and stay strong and everybody finds a home and, people start to travel and style and more frequency and everything's good. I'm a happy ending kind of guy.
Yeah, that's a kind of story I'd like to hear for the future for next year too. And anyway, they're all going to end up being affiliated travel advisors for you, I think, after that. But this is you'll have a massive effect. But there's a lot of good people out there, and it's one of these things as we emerge from this crisis and we actually go to the next live conference and sort of look around and see who's here. That's going to be a different story, and it's going to be sad in many ways, but we're still standing, as you and I have been standing through this for almost 30 years. So it's like, I think I've known you almost that long. It's been a long run.
Oh, you have.
I know.
Yeah, no, we go back to the API days. So that's, more than 21 years ago. So yeah, for sure.
Anyway, well, listen, Keith, thank you for taking the time to talk to us about Departure Lounge. I'm so glad to hear there's a lot of good news there, and it's amazing what you've done during this pandemic period. I think, it's a real lesson for a lot of other travel agencies and travel advisors out there that, it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom. You can kind of see what's out there, see what you can do, and prepare for next year. Certainly cruising has been one of the most affected, but it sounds like you found a lot of other revenue sources in private homes and sort of more secluded places to book, as well as some really great land options that all across the country. So it sounds like that's been a great way to at least get through this crisis for the moment. But again, thank you so much for taking the time.
Good. Thank you, James. Good to talk to you.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.